22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics radio show every Sunday 6 to 8 on MMHradio.com. I am your host, A.J. Woodson. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Can anybody hear me? Okay. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Check 1 2, check 1 2. All right, so anyway, working out the technical difficulties on the show right now. Is that the compressor got me going in and out like that? Yeah. All right, so we got my man Dr. Robert Baskerville in the place to be. I'm gonna let him talk about what's going on.
I ain't scared of you, man. So welcome everyone. As we work through some of these technical challenges that we're experiencing, as you all know, today's show will be dedicating to a discussion with a second panel of candidates who are running for this upcoming school board trustee election. So I guess in about a half hour or so. AJ, you want to come on the other side of the mic, man? I know it's unusual for you to be over there. You good? All right.
The lower you talk, the gate is closer to 5.
All right, check 1 2, check 1 2. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And right. Say.
Yeah. Okay, let's get some visuals to go with the volume. All right, Sam Rivers in the house. Can you hear me now, Caitlin? Can you hear me now?
Caitlin, Sam, how y'all doing today?
Yeah. So as Dr. Bob was saying, a little later we're gonna have we had one ticket of school board trustees come in last week. The second ticket is due now. We can hear. Thank you, Caitlin. The second school board ticket is due today. I think one or two of them may not be able to appear. I know Israel Yak Williams will definitely be in the house, and school board president Leslie Zamore might stop by. But until that, and next week we got something different. Next week I have some socially conscious spoken word artists coming to entertain you next week.
Who, PhD?
Nah. Young lady, Camilla, I'll pull her name up. We did a story on her earlier. She has an open mic in White Plains, and she's coming and she's bringing two artists with her, and they're gonna do a little spoken word.
Okay.
Dealing with everything that we talk about, the black community, police brutality, race relations, anything they want to get off their chests and entertain us with. So I'm looking forward to that because that's a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? In a different feel. Then we'll have the month of May. I think we're off for Mother's Day, and we have State Senator George Latimer coming on the 21st, and I believe Yonkers. And he's running for county executive. I'm sorry, against Rob Espirino, who's running for his third term, and then we'll have Yonkers City Council President candidate Mike Cater coming on the 28th. So that fills us up. Got a lot of other things coming up, but we'll talk about that. What's up, Joe Dove? He said this looks cool, AJ. Appreciate you, Joe. So first things first. So we had a couple of things going on this past week. One being, after hearing about a year or so of accusations of Councilman Andre Wallace not paying prevailing wages under his company, Creative Construction and Design. We've been hearing from Joe Spezio, Mayor Thomas, and several of friends or associates of the Thomas administration that, things like, the councilman needs to have accountability like he's asking me for accountability. Or, ask Andre Wallace why he hasn't paid his prevailing wages. And then we were getting emails and accusations from Joe Spezio saying that Black Westchester will not run the true story when they presented us the proof. And we've been waiting for proof from them and never really got proof. And I was like, send us the proof, come on the show, talk about it. That never happened. So this past Wednesday, the New York State Department of Labor completed its investigations into the allegations made against Creative Construction and Design, the owner and president, Andre Wallace, on Thursday, April 27th. The DOL, Department of Labor, has ruled that neither Wallace nor his company violated sections 220:8 to 220-B.2, Article 8, and 235-5, Article 9. And they found he has found not to be paying less than prevailing wages, blah 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 blah. So we've gone through this for a year. This was part of the civil war in City Hall, where again, Black Westchester has got accused of being part of the fake news when being critical of the Thomas administration, the way CNN and others have been critical of the Trump administration. Being critical does not make you fake news just because you don't want to hear what we have to say. It is our job to get the word out. It is our job to let the people know what's going on. And for those things that are done in the dark, it is our job to bring to the light. So I will be writing something on this because it was kept saying, why hadn't I covered this? Kenyatta Thomas said, hello. Hey, Bob.
Yetta, what's up, Yetta?
Yeah. So, I will be writing because, this had been going on for a while. And, to the point that, real talk, enough was said that, there were people that I knew to be Andre Wallace supporters who were starting to say, hey, did he pay prevailing wages? Could he have done that? You understand what I'm saying? And it's like it really became a question because it had and there was enough calls into the Department of Labor that they had to then run their own investigation because they had got enough complaints, from various people associated with the Thomas administration. So they did their investigation, and he has been cleared. He is supposed to be holding a press conference tomorrow to talk about just that and everything else, to talk about the details of the DOL's finding and of other things associated with this. It's supposed to take place 11 a.m. on the steps of City Hall. If anyway it's raining or inclement weather, the press conference will be inside on the rotunda in City Hall. But it will be 11 o'clock tomorrow. Andre will be answering all questions. He's been very quiet as of late. And again, some of this happened because Andre Wallace was very critical of the administration and was trying to hold their feet to the fire on certain things. So, it became, Mayor Thomas, why did you fire Commissioner Robert Kelly? Well, we got the councilman in the back. You should ask him why he ain't pay prevailing wages. Questions to Joe Spezio on certain accusations about the legitimacy of his appointment to the honorary police commissioner. Mm-hmm. Well, y'all don't run no real stories. That's misleading, and misleading stories y'all are running. Y'all won't run the truth like Andre Wallace not paying his prevailing wages. So it was just a chorus of anytime you brought anything up, somehow Andre Wallace not paying prevailing wages was the go-to line. And now after a year or so, the Department of Labor has cleared Andre Wallace. He may call in later. I know he's handling some business right now, but he may call in later. And that was one thing. Oh, and before we get started, I do want to address there was I don't know if we want to say a complaint or there was a concern last week when we had the city council. The school board trustee ticket of Omar McDowell Darcy and newcomer Edward Poteet that I had Brenda Crump in the studio, who I don't know to be true, but was said to have been a strong supporter of that ticket, and they thought that it was wrong for me to have her as an extra moderator. Now, I brought in both Brenda because she's been a school board trustee and has been very involved in the school board even without the title, and right. Our other co-host, Cynthia Turnquest Jones, who's been in the education system for, over 20 years and has a vast experience and served as principal at one point. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like sometimes you need to go to your stronger, you need to know your strengths and your weaknesses. I learn a lot of people think I know all this stuff. I learn so much with every story I do because, there has to be a certain amount of research. So, yeah, I learn a lot of things, but, I still wasn't very I wouldn't have been able to articulate fully, you know what I'm saying, what a school board trustee is supposed to do and some of those things. And I felt having people in education come through that were affiliated with the show, I thought that was a good thing. So that was my call. I don't see a conflict of interest. I do not, and I watched the tape over, and I had a few other people watch it, and that don't know anybody. And I wanted to see if they thought that Brenda's presence and in her questioning was favorable towards them or was endorsing them in any way or pushing them in any way. And the answer was no. So I stand by that. Everybody's not going to. Thank you, Caitlin. Good choice of moderators last week. Shout to Kevin Punch and Uncle Frank, as always.
Frank
is listening and checking us out. That was my call, and I wanted to address that. And then there was also questions about, oh my God, why did y'all let Sam Rivers get on the show? Why did y'all let him ask questions? He didn't make no questions. All he did was accusations. You know what? As in when people don't agree with me or Damon, just because they don't agree, if they call in, and as long as they are respectable, you know what I'm saying, and they want to air why they think something is wrong that I said or did, you know what I'm saying, I let it play. Right. It's people before politics is people before politics. It's the voice of the people, and no matter what you think of Sam, he has the right to call and air his opinion, and it's what it was, it's an opinion. We all have one. So it would have been wrong for me not to allow Sam Rivers to get on and say. Now, I did ask him offline, like, one question, sir, and let's keep it short, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want Sam to dominate the show and take away from people getting to know the candidates. But he has his all right to, and he's ran against these candidates in the last election. So, I mean, you know, he might have a personal touch that he knows that we don't know or whatever. So, anyway, I stand by our decision. Shout out to my homeboy, William Taylor, my partner and my group, JVC, Be Love, and the place to be. You know what I'm saying? Rapper number one. You know what I mean? Word up, holding us down, checking us out from Lawrenceville, Georgia. Shout out to Anthony Old School Mitchell, who's on the check-in. Thank you for tuning in. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. So there's a bunch of other things I want to talk about. Some I can't talk about. I will say this. I was asked to speak as an expert witness in a case that involved whether rap lyrics could be admissible. Because they're doing their jury selection or whatever, and possible jurors could be listening, I can't speak any further about the case. But it was a very good experience, though, and we definitely will be talking much more about that, the whole thing about lyrics and whether they're admissible in court. And this was a topic that, you know, we wrote about. Many of us writers used to write about like 10, 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And it was a joke then, like, that your lyrics could be admissible in court. Right. Well, we're there today, to the point that New Jersey's Supreme Court has ruled on it. I don't know who's calling me, knowing that I'm on the air.
That's that fake love.
That's my theme song. Yo, Bob, take over. That's our guest.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. So, well, let me say that with respect to Brenda Crump's appearance on the show, number one, AJ and I did discuss it. I was unaware that Brenda had a favorite, but nevertheless, I do think that Brenda has done invaluable service to the show and to the community of Mount Vernon for the past several years, providing both support in front of the camera and also behind the camera. And although it is, I do think it's incumbent on everyone to be sure to identify any candidates that they support while coming on the show. I don't think that it had any substantive damage, and I'm certainly going to encourage AJ and Damon to make sure they're even more stringent going forward with respect to this issue. With respect to Sam, I don't always agree with the way Sam says things. I personally find his rhetoric to be quite inflammatory, and this is coming from an inflammatory and incendiary guy myself. But the truth be told, Sam does deserve credit as being one of the, staunch and unrelenting critics of the city's political establishment in Mount Vernon, and I don't think that we can really do without his voice. And certainly, hopefully, Sam will, consider that a little. Yo, Sam, and don't blow my page up. Don't blow me up, Sam. Now, there's another thing that I have to say. To all of our viewers, I think that the past 2 weeks has been rather instructive with respect to the controversy that has dogged the Thomas administration. For about a year or so, many close friends and allies of mine have called into question both my integrity and the integrity of those with whom I work, because we have been so passionate and vociferous in our criticism of a lot of the activities that the Thomas...
There's $1 million word.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Vociferous. That means like
can you use
loud,
it in a sentence?
unrelenting, sharp, very vocal. And I think events of the past 2 weeks suggest that there is a great deal of credence to some of the warnings that we've been issuing. For those of you who do not realize this, I believe this past Monday, Low HUD published an editorial entitled "Thomas Must Remove Spezio," and I want to read a little snippet from it.
Okay.
Joe Spezio has got to go.
Whoa.
He is neither a city resident nor a city employee, but an unpaid hired gun for Thomas, a spy in plain sight, a symbol of Thomas's angry and blunt approach to politics. He has had a long career as a landlord, developer, and garbage hauler, with controversy following him from Yonkers to Poughkeepsie to Yorktown, from Louisiana to Florida. Thomas should do his own dirty work, or better yet, change his approach to being mayor. This, quite honestly, is what many of us, Mayor Thomas's former supporters, have tried to implore him to do before his administration even formally began. Just for the record, everyone, I want everyone who's listening to know that I personally, and AJ was around, personally.
Bob using $1,000 words.
Oh, listen, it's about the only time I get $1,000. I wish I got paid for them. But I want everyone to know that before this onslaught of criticism was launched against Mayor Thomas, he was well aware of the concerns that I had and others had about the legality of some of the decisions that he has made. And so Mayor Thomas is to blame for the deterioration in the affairs in the city.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Because we do this every week. We talking, it's misunderstood. As always, Richard Thomas, who is now mayor, is welcome to call into the show, 718-705-4959, anytime that he wants, as he used to when he was councilman and when he was running for office. He was a friend of the show and appeared many times. Just so this is not a beat Richard Thomas. This is, this is what Low HUD said. This is what, certain people feel. And he is welcome to call and give us a brief, summary of how he feels. You know what I'm saying? And speak for himself. Oh, my God, just entering the room. Kaboom! Stepped in the room.
Going upside, yo. How you doing?
We got Cynthia Turnquest Jones in the place to be. You know what I'm saying? Sister Soldier holding it down. If there
you need to sit next to your girl. Or?
No, sit down. Y'all good.
You sure?
Gotta have the guy in the middle. Gotta have some symmetry on the screen. You know what I'm saying? So if there's just before we get back, if there's anything going on in the state, if they're going to shut down the Brooklyn Bridge because something's going on, Cynthia's there. If they're going to do a die-in at the Grand Central Station, Cynthia's there. If Kenneth Chamberlain is fighting, or Ramali Graham is fighting, or anybody is fighting for justice, Cynthia Turnquest Jones is there. And she is, she holds it down. That's all I got to say. We have a call real quick. Caller. Welcome to People Before Politics. Please state your name and your purpose for calling. Caller.
Is there. And she is
What's up? Turn down your radio or whatever you're listening to it on.
All right, I got it down.
There you go. Welcome to the show, People Before Politics. Please state your name and your purpose for calling.
Don Moore, the critique against the Thomas administration, the city of Mount Vernon.
Okay. Bring it.
Again?
I said bring it. Go ahead. What's your critique?
I'm so far. I'm living in Virginia this time, but I still call Mount Vernon home. It's sad to see that when the truth comes out, so many people are still fighting the truth.
Right.
I mean, even in the movie The Matrix, most of the people, there was a lot of people who knew that they were living in the Matrix and just did not want to be unplugged.
Well, again, you have so many people that are resting in the colon of Mayor Thomas that they can't see the light, which is equivalent to the truth of what's been transpiring in the city of Mount Vernon.
And I want to be clear about one thing, too. This is a thing about Mount Vernon. This is not a Richard Thomas thing, because I always criticize those that were blindly loyal to Mayor Davis to the point of blind loyalty, regardless whether it was right or wrong. It was just like blind loyalty. So this is, I believe this is a Mount Vernon thing and not like a Richard Thomas and Thomas administration thing. I just wanted to point that out. Go ahead.
Okay, not a problem. The city of Mount Vernon is bleeding. It's
Yes.
that simple.
Yes.
And until the residents of Mount Vernon stand up and demand from the governor to have their city fixed.
Now, what would you have the governor do? Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that people are saying. People are going around putting stuff like impeach the mayor. Some people are just saying that, they support the mayor. They just got to get him out of the influence of, say, the Spezios of the world. Some people just say he got to go. So, I mean, what is your, as somebody who's a Mount Vernonite who served the Mount Vernon Police Department and is definitely very vocal in all the last past administrations, what do you think will fix it?
Again, there is a cancer that exists in Mount Vernon. A man could only allow another person to do something if he wants it done. Okay? If you look around, everything that's been transpiring in Mount Vernon since January 1st of 2016 has not been for the betterment of the residents of Mount Vernon.
It hasn't been done, and it now appears, in light of the finding that was released by the New York State Department of Labor, that Mayor Thomas, apparently under the advice of Joe Spezio, undertook a lawsuit that wasted, a considerable amount of taxpayer funds and probably went into the pocket of Joe Spezio's personal attorney, Jeffrey Buss. If I'm not mistaken, he was the representative on the case.
Well, not only that. Let me just point out, since regardless of why he hadn't been paid before this year, before 2016, it was in the budget for him to get paid. So had the check been signed and they not going to court to fight him, we paid court fees to fight it. And when the judge ruled that he should get paid what he was owed, the judge ruled interest back to 2014, which then is much more money than what was originally owed. And while this goes on, it's almost another $3,000 a month. You know what I'm saying? While as this goes on, which brings the 187 to like $250,000 now. You understand what I'm saying? So there's that waste of money. There's the waste of fees to the lawyers, like you just said, and the taxpayers are the losers. I mean, regardless of what side you're on, regardless of who you support, the taxpayers are the losers.
But AJ and Bob, listen
Yeah.
to this.
Mm-hmm.
If you foil those attorneys that have been representing the city in lawsuits, I guarantee you they are Spezio or Thomas affiliates. They are the ones getting paid, and the Mount Vernon residents are suffering. Foil it, and I guarantee you I'm correct.
No, you absolutely are correct, Don. Joseph Spezio's attorney, Jeffrey Buss, has been representing the so-called non-resident five. Is that what we were referring to them as, AJ?
The residency five.
Oh, the residency five. Oh, I wanted to be clear. The non-resident five. Let's go. But he represented them. Joe's personal attorney is representing the city in the legal dispute over the residency issue.
I want to answer a question. I know it changed the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Stern, thank you for listening to the show, asked, and I thought I did address this, where is Damon? There's an award show in the city. Good friend of his, Carl Kanai, and someone else is being honored, and he is going there. He went there to support that, and he's going to cover that for Black Westchester. So, unfortunately, being short on staff, we just can't be everywhere. So sometimes you'll see, you won't see me here, or Bob will be working on, some kind of research or building a map or something. So it's just like Cynthia's protesting somewhere. So but yeah, that's what Damon is, and so that's
and we want to discourage any speculation as to why he is not here.
Oh, and Charles, I do want to get back to you because I do want to. I'm glad Cynthia's here too. I do want to put on a show. Maybe if we can do it in June or July, before the real politics season really kicks in, on the on the school the what was it Amani is a what? What do you call
Charter
it?
schools.
Charter schools. The pros and cons of charter schools, and I know he's involved in Amani, and he had made some good points, and he said some good points were made. But we want to do a show on that. We want to explain what a charter school is, private and public, the pros and cons. Have you speak, from your perspective, some people that don't feel it, and we want to have a nice panel discussion. But I definitely will get back to you on that. And we probably, May is booked, and probably June the earliest, maybe July. We also have Cynthia. Introduce your guest, please, real quick.
Oh, okay. So we got my girl Hill in the house. What's up, Hill? You need to bring the mic close to you. Yeah, bring the mic close. Put the earplugs on. Yeah, this is one of the business managers at New York City Department of Education. So she handles a $250,000 budget at one of the schools that's located down the block from the Bronx Zoo. Don't look at her like that. You look like you get ready to jump her.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest. Your intuitions is on.
You look like you was getting ready to jump her.
Well, she definitely.
But she. I mean, the knowledge that he'll have in regards to monies in the school. We just finished the budget, and so not just finished the budget, but we just finished the end of the cycle. So when you finish the end of the cycle, all monies have to be spent.
Okay. Well, we definitely welcome her. Charles said June and July would be great.
Welcome, Hill.
Charles, I'll get back to you on that.
So, Hill, you know where the budget is for the $1,000 words, right? Sign me up.
$1,000 words. Wait a minute.
Well, listen, $100, $10 word, maybe. I'm sorry.
So I definitely want to welcome you, and you're definitely a welcome addition. Coming in right now is one of the and I know even though you're not a Mount Vernon school board trustee candidate. And we're going to talk to him today, and I'm sure you may be able to bring some of your expertise and ask a question or two from that perspective. So
AJ, let me do my my announcement.
Do your announcement? Yes, join us. Yes.
So we got coming up this Saturday at the Cupcake Cutie Boutique.
One of our greatest cupcakes in the world.
That's right.
One of our
cupcakes in the
world. One of our long-term supporters.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
You ever
by the incomparable.
Yeah, yes. Maisha Stokely. Yeah.
You ever tried the chicken and waffles in there?
Oh yeah, as soon as they had them at the beginning, yeah.
Amazing.
I went to a marathon.
I
don't want to walk nowhere. I walked there and got them.
I went to a marathon, and right after the marathon, I went right there and got me.
Yeah. The first
day. Don't even tell us.
First day she said that Saturday when they had the thing with Jericho and they were spinning outside.
Yeah.
She says tomorrow we're gonna do chicken and waffles. I was there, so I was one of the first to get them chicken and waffles.
I didn't get an invite though.
Oh, sorry, but that's right down the block from where you live. Turn it back around.
All I usually do is go get the cupcakes.
Oh yeah, on the weekends.
Chicken
you
gotta
go on the weekends in the morning. Chicken and waffles.
Something delightful, but chicken and waffles. Cupcake Cutie Boutique. And along with my organization, the Brown Urban Mother Partnership, we will be sitting down the bump. Yeah. We will be sitting down with
bump it up. Listen, I can help that. That's a different show, huh?
Okay, so we'll be sitting with and having conversations, open mic for individuals to have dialogue with Valerie Bell, who is the mother of the slain Sean Bell, who was murdered the night before he was married. He was at his bachelor's party in Queens, and the police officers shot him and his friends up, and he was murdered that night. And so Valerie Bell wrote a book called Just 23, and she will be there. And
she'll have the books there for signing.
She'll have the book there for signing and purchasing.
I'm going to buy me
one.
So,
really hope that individuals come out 5 to 7. Trying to bring some new stuff to Mount Vernon. Making sure individuals, bring other individuals from across the other side, bring them into money earning Mount Vernon. What's up, baby?
What day is this again?
It's Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
From
Next
5
Saturday.
to 7.
All right,
she'll have hard covers and soft covers there. Valerie Bell is a really sweet lady.
Absolutely, I got to meet her once at one of the things
Yeah.
y'all took me
Yeah,
to.
you did.
One of the many things
Yep.
y'all took me to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
They used to be like,
and then
AJ, come on, we're
there's
going.
A couple
And I'm
of,
like-
there's a couple of messages in her book from. I gave my book away. I gave my book. The first time when I went to her book signing, I purchased books. I gave one to Montika. Montika hit me up immediately. Get me a book, please. I got your book. And then that's how I met her, and I told her that, you know, we would like to come up to Mount Vernon. And there's a couple of mothers who are in the book who also writes in the book. You have the mother of Ramarley Graham that's in the book. If I'm not mistaken, I think Anthony Byers' mother, Irish Byers.
Got to meet her
Anthony
a few
Byers
times,
is the
yeah.
one who had that case, the first case in regards to being choked.
Choked, right.
Choked
right,
alive,
right.
choked death.
Right.
Which would led to that being
Which left.
that being out not out it was a policy that they couldn't do it no more. It wasn't
Right.
law, but you know what I'm saying? It was the policy that they weren't
Right.
supposed
They
to do.
changed departmental policy
Right.
without changing the
The
law.
law, right,
Right.
right.
So if
Isn't that
you
interesting?
choke someone using the illegal or the
Right.
non-sanctioned
Right.
chokehold, you could still
Still work for the NYPD.
Yeah,
Because that
right.
dude's still working.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
you can still kill someone that
They
you
they got rid of, like, when with the Eric Garner case, they got rid of the EMS workers first.
right.
Like,
Got rid of the
they-
EMS
they-
workers, and the only person that, and Erica Garner was like, she was like, it's egregious that the only person who got suspended was the black lady who was the supervisor for
wasn't even
not
standing there.
stopping the white guys from choking my
But what
father.
about the rest of
but
the
the
cats
white
that was
guys who
standing
choked
there?
my father were not. There's nothing happened to them.
That's amazing.
So
And
that's
you
like
know,
the-
had she tried to intervene and stop them, she would have been
Oh yes.
Right.
Oh yes.
Buried alongside with-
I agree with Corey Begis and others. There should have been, because she wasn't charged, so something should have happened to her, but not only her. Like the people who did it. How can you
Doesn't make
do
any
something?
sense.
How can you do something for a supervisor not stopping an action that you deem is wrong, but the people who commit the action, nothing happens to them. And the only other person who went to jail was the guy who videotaped it, and he went to jail.
Right,
a few
he's in
times.
jail now.
Yeah, he went to jail.
He's
a
in
few
jail
times.
now.
Yeah, he went to jail. And
The
got
guy
out.
that videotaped Eric
Yeah,
Gardner being murdered
He got out, and then he was in jail again.
is
Like
in
they
jail
was-
now.
Yeah.
So we're having that book signing, and then I'll be setting up to have Corey Begee up so we could do a book signing with him.
Yes,
in
we
Mount
definitely
Vernon
got it.
also.
Yes,
I'm
definitely.
setting-
We had
I'm
him on
gonna
the
set that
show,
up.
Once a Cop, Corey
Yep.
Begis.
Yep. So Corey hit me up and said, "Yo,
Well,
what's
my
up,
book
sis?
signing. Yeah.
You gonna do a book signing for me?" I said, "Wait on, wait, sure, no problem." But yeah, so
I gotta see if because they're also doing book readings and stuff like that at the library.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think I need to talk to the people at the library about that. And while we're talking about books and the library is having an election for their trustee library trustees this Tuesday from 7 to 9 at the library. So again, we talk about the presidential, the national elections. We talk about people who actually came out
Right.
every 4 years for the mayor's election. The city council election is big. The school board election is huge, especially since they get 66 or better cents on every dollar of your tax dollar. And equally, the library election is very important. And again, I want to introduce. I want Yak. Is that Yak? Yak to come in the room, talking about somebody who's
come on in, brother.
Definitely running for school board, but definitely somebody who's big on books. He has an organization called Books in Hand. And no matter what they're doing, the kids' admission to be around, they always have to have their book in hand. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
nice.
Yeah.
It's the deal, baby. Listen, I want everyone to know.
Bob, why
this
you
is
gotta
my
hug
man
everybody?
from way back. All right, so y'all already know. And
Bob, why you gotta hug everybody?
well, listen, because when y'all is my
Wait,
dude.
hold on,
It would
y'all.
be
Hold on, let me get a hug.
well.
Okay.
No,
So
your
now-
hug is different, girl. Listen.
So now, after we get all the hugs out of the way, now, again, we had the whole ticket coming up, but
We got-
there was
yo,
hold on. There was an emergency with one candidate, and one candidate is out of town. I don't know if we will be able to get them on because we are booked next week, and then the week after that is Mother's Day, and we will not be on air. So I don't know if we'll be able to get them on before, but I definitely Yak was able to come through, and I definitely want to introduce the people, and we're going to ask him the questions and why he's running for school board. But again, since we're talking about books, before that, talk about your book in hand, talk about that organization.
Yep. First and
But just pull the mic a little bit closer.
Sure.
Yeah.
First and foremost, want to thank God for this opportunity.
Oh, yeah. This is your
and
first
for
time here?
today.
First time here?
First time here. Happy to be here.
Official report.
Word.
Thank you guys
Give
for
it up
having
to
me.
y'all.
So first, we're talking about a company that I started a few years ago that was designed to strengthen and build literacy in our community. It started with my personal need to read more. You know, I was just trying to find ways to read more and limit the excuses, being that I have two younger children, and you know, I kind of demand that from them, so I have to model it. Then I realized, you know, you're not getting it done. So a couple of summers ago, I was trying to find ways, and I had a friend of mine that I was, you know, talking to about it, and she had recommended doing a book club. So we started a book club, you know, where it was just me and her, and you know, we couldn't move on to the next book until, you know, we both actually finished. And, you know, so about a weekend we started, and about a weekend, you know, she gives me a call back, and she's like, you know, I'm pretty much done. Are you done? And I'm like, I'm still on chapter 2. And, you know, so it was a little frustrating because I had to try to find ways to read more. So I had more excuses than, you know, results. So, you know, so we're just brainstorming with it. And one Sunday morning, I'm out and I'm coaching with a young lady in 4th Street Park, and this was late August, and you know, so a few kids, you know, from the neighborhood come up to me, about 5 or 6 of them, and you know, they want to know. They say, Coach, can we do what she's doing? So I had the cones out, and we're training. So I had to kind of let them know that they couldn't disturb her because she's focused, disciplined. She's been doing what she needs to do up to this point. So we couldn't really disturb that. But I had a conversation with the kids, and I said, well, let's talk about, you know, something a little bit more important. I said, school starts in a week. I said, did you guys finish your summer packets? They said, yeah, we finished summer packets. All right, well, so you guys got books? I said, yeah, we got books. I said, well, do you read? All of them, yeah, we read. Coach, we read, we got books, we finish everything. What can we train? I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I said, we'll be out in 4th Street Park tomorrow, 9 o'clock. And if you guys come to 4th Street Park with a book of interest, then I'll let you participate. I'll let you practice. And they was fine with it. Then they went off, and you know, so I go back, and about 2 minutes later, I'm scratching my head. I'm saying, wait a minute. Wow, wait 1 second. Talking to myself, and I'm saying, well, that's it. To myself, I'm saying, well, what if you made that the standard? When you come to participate, because, you know, they want to play,
right.
You know, it has their interest, and, you know, I'm trying to find ways myself. I said, well, what if you made that the standard for the team? And immediately I said, it's going in. So this was on a Thursday, and, you know, so I had another week session with my players on Monday. So I needed a few days to kind of refine it. What is this thing? You know, what's the name of it? What's the concept? And by Saturday I had it, and by Monday I introduced it. So Monday comes around, and I have the girls. They all come in, and they got flip-flops, basketballs, book bags, you know, everything athletic. And we go through the routine, and then I let them know without even giving them the history of the concept, you know, not letting them know they was 3 days old. I said, listen, I said, and there's 15 girls and myself. I said, we're the first group to adopt a concept called book in hand. So they say, well, okay, Coach, what's that? What's book in hand? And I let them know. I said, this is a very simple concept, but it makes it mandatory that me, the coach, and you, the players, each and every one of us, when we come into the gym, we have to have our passport. And they're saying, well, what's the passport? Like a real passport to travel? I said, no, your passport is your book of interest. So in order to enter and exit and participate, we got to have our passport in hand visibly when we, you know, cross that threshold. And, you know, so they agreed, you know, because it was very little pressure on it. So, you know, the idea is literacy, but also the idea is building the love of literacy. So Tuesday came around, and it was amazing. 15 girls, they came in at different times, and they had their athletic gear on again, but they all had something that we don't see enough in our community.
That's right.
Books in hand. So not in your book bag, you know, not on your phone, which is fine too, but we want that tangible hard copy, and the repetition of actually first seeking your book of interest, and then 2, actually picking up and carrying it. you know, to your destination. So Tuesday was beautiful. It was an epic day for me and for my family because they all came in and we did the routine, and it was a simple task. So they completed the first task on the entry and they completed on the exit. And I had my then my 6-year-old daughter and my 4-year-old son with me. And this was a concept I thought I would have to kind of work in with them, like, you know, trying to, you know, get them to actually, you know, get hip to it. And as soon as the girls, like, as soon as they finished, I had my daughter who was a little upset. So she came and she tapped me, you know, right after, and she looks and she says, "Dad." Like, really? I'm like, "Yeah, Z, what, you know, what's going on?" She's like, "I got to have my passport too if I'm going to be here."
Mm-hmm.
And my 4-year-old was right next to her, and he looked at me right in my eyes too. Said, "Dad, I got to have my passport too if I'm gonna be here." And
I'm a frequent flyer.
that was the epic moment for my family because
Wow.
the love of literacy actually really, you know, you ignited right there vicariously. It was off the energy, you know, just off of everything that the culture that was shaped, you know, which was really beautiful. And we had some really good results in one day. You know, being that the culture was established, we had some girls on the side reading. I had some parents in first day like, "Listen, Coach, I don't know what is going on, but I could not get my daughter to actually just pick up and read, you know, her own individual interest book that interests her for the life of me." And, you know, I realized it's the culture. It's accepted, it's mandatory, no one's going to put you down. And, you know, so from there, we put it into my team. So every time we come into a gym, when we go to a game, practice, whatever, we got to have our passports. You know, so, and also I put it in with my children, book in hand policy in the family. So every day when we go into school, when we go into that entrance, when they go in, they have to have their passport. And when they come out, they have to have their passport. So the idea of it is to build the repetitions because we know the brain is a muscle. You know, so just like the bicep, you know, pull-ups are intimidating, push-ups are intimidating, books are intimidating to someone who doesn't frequently use it as much.
Absolutely.
So if you take that first step, it becomes a snowball effect. And before you know it, even if you're not, you know, an avid reader, if you actually first, like I said, once you pick your interest, and then, you know, after a few times of actually the repetition of actually picking it up, and then people actually engaging and saying, "Well, what's that book about?" And,
Right.
you know, and then giving you the confidence builders like, "Wow, you're smart. You know, you need to keep it up," and things like that. The self-esteem goes up, the confidence goes up, the anxiety goes down, and the intimidation goes down. You know, so now you're kind of on the roll to really becoming, you know, the literacy strengthening takes place.
That's what's up. The reason, and I asked that question to start off with specifically, and I had not planned this since Cynthia's in the house. Cynthia is very big on summer literacy.
Yeah.
You know, the kids don't read during the summer and putting out summer book lists and, you know, encouraging summer literacy. And I knew that would be something that Cynthia would really love to hear about.
I got to tell you something that I thought that was absolutely wonderful to listen to.
Thank you.
You know, just to share with you, my family, we travel a lot.
Right.
And one year we went to the Bahamas, and we have a home in the Bahamas, and so one of my cousins decided to join us. He said, "I want to go with y'all because y'all have a really good time." So, you know, we go on the beach. We're beach bums. That's what we do, right? And
The good life.
the good life, right? Two sons, right? Go to the beach. After the beach, then we go get some conchs and fish and things of that nature, and we come back home. And they shower off, and they pick up a book and they start reading. My cousin looked at me and he was like, he said, "Yo," he said, "How you do that?" I said, "Do what?" "You didn't even have to tell him." I said, "Because it's in our culture. It's a part of our culture where we always have a book to read."
Right.
I was at the airport once. I think I was in North Carolina, and there was a family of like 5. Every single one of them had a book in their hand.
Yeah.
While they were sitting and waiting for the next plane to come.
Right.
Right. And what happens gradually is that, like, as an administrator, the next thing somebody would ask you is, "So what happened to those girls' grades from the time they started the book in the hand?" Right?
Right.
Because that's what individuals start looking at statistics.
Sure,
right?
measurability, yeah.
So my sons wants the culture of always having a book in your hand. Like, still to this day, they cannot watch television in the house between Monday to Friday. There's no television watching.
Right.
But you could read the hell out of
You're
that
an
book.
evil parent. Oh, my God. No.
But you can read that book. And even my godson, who was just sentenced to 6 years in federal penitentiary, that is what he asked me for. Godmommy, can you please send me some books?
Right.
Because when he stayed at my house, he couldn't watch television either. He had to read.
Yeah.
All right. So once that started in the culture, and I share with everybody all the time, my oldest son had speech therapy from the age of 2 all the way to 18. My second son is dyslexic. They are on point when it comes to reading. And that is because it has to be ingrained. It has to be a part of the culture. And I love that.
Yeah. It you know, being at there's so many benefits from it, you know, and like I said, kind of looking at it, you know, where, you know, the brain is actually a muscle, that makes a lot of sense because the more you do it, the more your body will crave it, you know. So even for the young students who, who are not really, who haven't really developed that love of literacy, it's okay to start at ground zero or ground one. So, you know, actually just, the question, which is a powerful question, what are you interested in, is not asked enough in my concern, as far as, I'm concerned.
I agree.
You know, in the district, because it's pretty much a matter of, curriculum, but we have to kind of look outside of that and develop the whole child. So, the repetitions of it, and then the culture, like you said, when it's established, you might, a trendsetter can actually spark that interest. He can be a part of the program, and then he see a trendsetter maybe from the community on TV who actually endorses it, and they go right into the book. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's what they chose as, what interests them. It really starts the snowball effect.
Now let me ask you, and everybody in the hood knows you from the barbershop.
Yeah,
of course.
You know what I'm saying? Even after I say my, I'm still.
I think I saw some books in the barbershop.
Yeah,
if I'm not
books. You
mistaken.
do see books in the barbershop. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I go in there sometimes just to hang out.
Right.
You see people playing chess and
yeah.
You know what I'm saying, So people know you from that, and people are starting to know you from this book in hand thing. What made you decide to run for school board trustee, and why now?
Well, actually, it evolved from the just the involvement with the schools, and book in hand actually just kind of climbed and grew, as a concept and developed into an actual business for myself. So actually, once it was implemented with the team, and then was implemented with my family, with the children, we started it with my youngest in kindergarten, and my daughter was in 2nd grade. So we started that practice, and then, from there I was actually, and I seen the dynamic effects of it, because, when I'm driving to school and, they have to have their passports, I don't necessarily have to turn over my shoulder and ask them to read. It's in their hand, they're in the back of the seat reading, so it actually, just picks up really fast. So I seen the dynamic effects of it, and, so I started talking to their individual teachers about this program designed to strengthen literacy, and they were, very receptive on that level. And as they, we went into this year, and then I started talking to the principals about actually, possibly considering these alternative strategies, to strengthen literacy, and they were very receptive as well. So Rebecca Turner School was the first school that actually adopted the concept of Rebecca Turner Elementary School, and we got full compliance from that school, which was the, from the principal down, administrators, so it's not just for the students, the program, because learning doesn't stop, and teachers also have to learn from the students in order to make that connection. And, so of course from there, then it was actually sent up to the higher ups at the Board of Ed. So I kept knocking on doors and kept presenting it, and, just caught the attention of some people, and, after, exchanging, a bunch of different things, I made the conclusion that, make running for school board would be a good idea to actually try to implement this on a district level, right, and really help our schools.
I want to commend you, Yak, because the consensus amongst college professors, and everyone must, as I've said enough, I'm a college professor.
Caller, please hold.
The consensus amongst college professors is one of the leading causes for poor academic performance, especially amongst poorer students, and especially students of color that I deal with, is a failure to read.
That's right.
People are going to college and they don't want to read a book.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
And I don't understand. And I do understand it's precisely because they did not develop a joy and pleasure for reading.
Right.
At an early age. You have to. I've been very fortunate. I love to read since I was a kid, and it's what sustained me through the challenging reading that one has to do in high school. And in college. So I really wanted to commend you and the whole culture thing. I mean, I've been very fortunate because I have a PhD, and one of the reasons I have a PhD is because I had friends and family who were supportive. And no doubt, Yak, I came to the barbershop a couple of times and built with you and Keith and all the other brothers there about some of the books. They have some excellent scholarly books.
We have a nice library.
Yeah, they got a nice library there. And so I want to applaud you for trying to make, intellectual braininess. I think not a bad thing, because too often.
Just to add on.
Get the caller. Go ahead.
All right.
Caller, you are on People Before Politics. Please state your name and your purpose for calling. Caller?
This is Leslie Zamora on the line.
Hey, how are you, Mr.
What's
Zamora?
up, Les?
Leslie, how are you today?
Very good, Israel. AJ, very nice to be here. And as I told Israel today, I'm extremely proud of our candidates, of himself, Arlene, and Stan. They're doing such a terrific job getting out there in the community and expressing to the community what they bring to the table. It's really an honor, win or lose, to have been associated with these guys. When you have the opportunity to meet people who are genuine about their intentions and what they want to do in the community, it's a real blessing. And I remember, actually, I spoke at the AME Allen Temple Church this morning, and the Reverend there introduced me, and he said, when people do things that they don't necessarily have to do, those people he has extremely high respect for. And this is, what I'm all about. I really don't have to be involved as much as I am in the school district. Actually, I'm so involved that other people are saying he's too involved. He should, he should be looking, he should be, having the 30,000 feet in the sky viewing down and letting the administration do what they want. Unfortunately, our district is not at that level. We need all hands on deck. The administration, they're doing their thing, but they're rebuilding an entire district. So as much capacity as we can add and competency that we can bring to this board is extremely helpful. And that's why, personally, I really have a lot of respect for these guys, and I support them wholeheartedly, again, in my personal capacity, because I know I've been accused that, you can't do it as a board president title. So as a citizen, as a human being, as a caring community member, I wholeheartedly support their candidacy.
Two things real quick. And I did mention this last week when it was brought up by the other team. You did reach out to me once you found out or realized that you were not supposed to endorse in the role of president, and you did ask me to change the language in the article, which we did. Secondly, since the other two candidates can't be here, and I was going to ask Brother Israel this, but maybe you can give me briefly your impression of the other two candidates. Try to keep it as brief as possible. Like, what about them would make them great trustees?
Well, let's start with Stan, for example. Stanley Russo, he brings a level of financial acumen to the board that we don't currently have. His principal role, the work that he does now, He works for a law firm in New York, a big law firm that specializes in tax certiorieries, budgeting, audits for large condominium and co-op buildings all over the tri-state area. Actually, we have a current issue right now in the district where the superintendent of business reached out to me. He said, Les, we're having a lot of issues with these tax certiorieries. They're taking a lot of, we have to give a lot of money back. When these big businesses and big developments, when they go to court, take us to court to have their taxes reduced, we have to give them very large refunds. And he says I'm thinking that maybe we should employ our attorneys to fight them so that they don't get back as much money as they're demanding. And then I said, well, that's really interesting because that is actually Stan Russo's expertise. So why don't I connect you two, and as a community member, maybe he can, lend his idea to this particular case in point. So they had a conversation, and Stan called me back. He says, Les, your approach is completely flawed. You're trying to fight, the district's trying to fight the tax certiorari refunds after the fact, while in fact what you should do is you should challenge the assessments at the time that they're assessing the properties. Because once they've assessed the property, the city has said, hey, this is the assessment, and so therefore they have to give an appropriate or a proportional tax levy towards that assessment. So if you challenge the assessment and you never drop the assessment in the first place, then you never have to challenge the levy, because you will not win in court when you're challenging the levy because it's proportion to the assessment. It was something as simple and basic as that. And then, so our superintendent of business was like, wow, we never really thought about that. So this could save us millions of dollars already in the school district. So Stan, another thing that he prides himself on is forensic accounting. And he says, with me, I know there's been well, not rumors, but in actuality, we've misspent a lot of money in the past. And yes. He said with him on the board and on the budget committee, he will find every penny. There will not be a penny gone lost, because this is exactly what he does: forensic accounting, budgeting, auditing, and tax certiorieries. So that's Stan. So Arlene, what she brings to the table very quickly is, Arlene is currently the general counsel, the lead legal representative for Concordia College. So when it comes to education law, parameters, also best use of, let's say, cooperative efforts of let's say, colleges and vis-a-vis, let's say, the school district, especially seniors, juniors, or even sophomores and freshmen looking to get into college. She'd like to have more cooperative efforts with local universities such as Concordia, such as Monroe and Mercy and so on and so forth, Iona, and she wants to bring that to the table. Actually, there was a joint effort where the local high schools in Concordia were trying to put together some type of consortium to work together with these districts, and they invited Mount Vernon to work with them. They also invited New Rochelle, I think Pelham, and a couple other school districts, and Mount Vernon was the only one that never responded to the email. So it was a lost opportunity to work with local colleges and to have our young children, our young scholars, get an opportunity to experience campus life, what it's like to participate in college-level courses. So one of the things that Arlene's going to be working on is seeing how we can get our kids to participate in collegiate classes before they even get to college. And that type of experience, when you don't know what college is like and it's something that you've heard of, you haven't really experienced, it's a little strange. But when you get to participate early on, it really changes things for you. So, I mean, hell, if this enables maybe an extra 100 kids or 200 kids that normally would not have gone on to college, now that they have this preliminary experience, if it helps them, then wow, we're already making a big difference. So when I talk about adding capacity, these are the types of things that I talk about.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Thank you for calling in, and I don't know how much time you got, but is there any last words, anything we didn't ask you that you want to mention about the school board, about anything what's going on, any updates? I know the what was it, the bond thing got approved for the
Yes. Well, there's one thing I wanna say actually. I know that, and I just want to. I know Trustee Miller has put out an article setting the record straight, and I just want to be very clear. The things that I've said are a matter of fact, and they are matters of record. It's not slander. I'm not diminishing anyone's accomplishments. Those are just facts. Now, if you feel that those accomplishments are small, then that's you, not me. The thing is that, sometimes when I say something, I said, for example, that Trustee Miller never voted for the superintendent. The reason I mentioned that is because they mentioned that on their palm cards that they were part of the team that brought in the superintendent. And so that's false because, number one, Trustee Miller was on the board, but she did not vote for Superintendent Hamilton. So she comes out to set the record straight and says, oh, Mr. Zamore says that I never supported the superintendent in his initiative. That's not what I said. Yes, she does support the superintendent now, but she did not vote for him.
Well, she admitted so much when Sam Rivers brought that up. She kind of shook her head.
Okay, very good.
Agreed.
So I know that this because I know that this setting the record straight is out there, but that's not setting the record straight. If now then you come back and admit it, you should admit it on setting the record straight, right? So the second thing is that part of the team, Omar McDowell, Trustee McDowell, was not even on the board when the superintendent came in. So he couldn't have been part of the team that brought in the superintendent. So I want to just be clear. And that's a fact.
Wait,
now,
when did
it may not be.
Hold on. When did McDowell when did the new
Hamilton,
superintendent come in?
Hamilton came in about 3 years ago, like pretty much around now. And so Trustee Miller was on the board because she was filling in the expiring term of Jerry Whiteside, who had stepped down and had moved out of town. And so it was actually part of my efforts back then to bring Trustee Miller to finish that expiring term. So Trustee McDowell was running for office at the time, but was not in office at the time.
All right.
Correct.
I just
the only
problem I have as an educator for 20 years is the constant fighting in regards to education, where our students are only receiving a pseudo education, and it's constant. And so until we stop fighting and until we start doing, they'll never get the education that they're supposed to get. And they will be behind the black ball, they will be behind the bowling ball, they will be behind the 8-ball, they will be behind every single black ball they got out of there for them because of the constant bickering back and forth and not doing what we're supposed to do. So I just want to tell you that.
Sure.
Right? Just to let you know, just to put that in your head.
And I'm going to respond. And I'm about to respond.
Right. No, I'm not looking for, I didn't ask you for a response. What I'm doing is I'm telling you, as an educator for 20 years, right? As an educator for 20 years, and being in the educational system, and then being in several schools, right? And as a parent, and watching our black, in particular, come out with a pseudo education, false education, that is taking them hardly anywhere, where they cannot get before the ball. It's because of the arguing that continually, that never stops. It never ends. Continually arguing, and the children are not looked at. This is not about the children. And this is not just for you, but it's for anybody that's listening, especially when it comes to education, because individuals know how serious I am when it comes to education. The arguing has nothing to do with the children. Understand what I'm saying? This has to do with people personal and wanting to have a name and things of that nature. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Okay, so now that you've said that, I will disagree vehemently and say that those are two separate things completely. So representatives or trustees making points, making their separate claims in terms of what they bring to the board or the capacity, the credentials, has nothing to do with the fact that our kids are not learning, okay? The fact that our kids are not learning has everything to do with, number one, parenting, okay? Because we quite often send our kids off to school expecting the school to be the parent. And the schools can never replace parenting. So that's number one. Number two, it's important that the board's role is to hire the administrators that will have the proper vision and set the strategic structure for the proper education of our students, the way our students learn. So our students are unique from other students. Not all students learn the same. We have a very diverse social and economic community. So we have to recognize that we're not homogeneous, such as, let's say, a town like Bronxville. So if we bring in, let's say, a superintendent that only knows how to set academics for kids that are, let's say, coming from Bronxville, then he would have failed us because our kids are not those kids. So that's what that has to do with. Setting up the programs, having the right teachers, making sure that you have teachers that are empathetic to the kids in their whatever social economic conditions or special types of education that they need. All that has to do with education. So what we're talking about right now, I'm sorry, but I disagree, has nothing to do with whether or not kids are learning. Right now, what we're doing here is we're making sure that we elect the trustees that will set the stage to have the proper type of administration and guidance for the administrators so that they could enact the programs that will teach our kids.
So you're wrong.
That's what it's all about.
Because it does have. You're wrong. So you're wrong because it does have something to do with.
Both of y'all have stated your opinion. Both of y'all have stated your opinion. Both of y'all have stated your opinion. And I'm going to end it there so we don't take time from the trustee who's running for office.
But it has to do with children learning.
Yeah, but once you
because if it didn't have anything to do with children learning,
once you respond, he's going to respond, and we're going to be 30 minutes left because I know both of y'all. So neither one of y'all going to let the other one have the last word.
Right, but it has.
No. I'm just saying. I got you.
Why do people send individuals to school?
I got you.
We don't have a high percentage.
And I said y'all gonna have to agree to disagree on this one as we go back.
You have to have whether they poor, whether they rich. Students have to have trust.
You know what?
All right, so it does have to do with
This is the exact same thing that you're just complaining about, but yet you're bickering back and forth with me on this.
So what?
Look,
that's what this is all about. You called in. You called in. Brother, so we're going to talk about it back and forth.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
I'm asking both of y'all to.
I'm fine with that. So this is the type of discourse that we should have. But that doesn't mean that this type of discourse results in poor education for our children. If anything, discourse, being open and transparent discourse, will end up being a positive for our kids. So this is what this is all about. This is open and positive discourse.
And I'm going to end that point. I'm going to end that portion. I'm going to end that right there. But going back to no. So brother Yacht.
Yeah, I mean, just listening. I think the points on both sides are absolutely correct. Because this is and analyzing the culture. Of course, it's just like a family. It's just like a house. So if you have arguing with mom and dad, up all night, then you're going to have, some of those effects in the morning, with the children. They won't be as ready for school and things like that. However, the process here is actually filtering. So you have to filter, people, thoughts, intentions, and things to get the right team. So you can go ahead with this particular, and I mean, in the condition that we're in the city, this is the process. You would have to actually have these conversations, and we have to actually figure out and put together a team that can move the district forward. And in politics, it's just that's just the way it works. However, we have to be able to adapt, the way and at the speed that technology is moving. So we have to have these conversations, these urgent conversations, and they won't always be nice, but we have to actually get to the people that can move this thing forward.
We have a question from the audience, from the listeners. Brother that met you yesterday, he said, "Yeah, I met you yesterday at the forum. My question is this: with the Mount Vernon School District finally on the upswing, bond passed, graduation rates on the rise, test scores on the rise. Why should we make changes to the team at this time? What can you bring to the table? Much respect.
Well, you know, the data, you have to look at the data, but then you have to actually have conversations and look at the broader picture. We still have a lot of holes to patch up in our quest to educate every student properly. So yes, the district is aligned, in the right direction. However, that doesn't mean that we're producing college-ready students or work-ready students. So the task is great to actually limit the mistakes. You can't. I mean, as a coach, I relay a lot back to coaching. And you're going to have your starting five, right? You have your starting five. They're the best starting five on paper. However, you as a coach, you know their practice habits. You know what they'll be able to bring to the table because of their habits. So you would probably have to recruit or, push that player or bring up another young player who can actually come in and work with the team and make as few mistakes possible. I teach at any level of athletics. It's not the team with the best players on paper that wins the championship. It's the team that continually makes the fewest mistakes. So we have a lot of work to do, and one being, you look at our statistics in the county, 25 to 30% of our graduating students are college ready. So we have a lot of work to do as well.
We have a caller on. This People Before Politics. Please state your name, and do you have a question for the candidate?
Yes, I do. Greetings, Samuel Rivers from Mount Vernon. How's everyone doing today?
I just want to say real quick, with all due respect, I asked the same thing last week. One question and make it brief.
Hey, what's up, Sam?
Yeah, my question is, we have a budget of $240 million. We have no school buses in our district. Why? We have plenty of money here. I know this was an issue that came in way before this super and a super before that. But merchants are complaining about the kids going down. This is just a pet peeve of mine because these kids going down Gramerton Avenue every afternoon with the police out there, just doesn't sit well. It's just not a good image you want to see in your head, especially if you're showing property to people from out of town and convincing them to move to Mount Vernon. Is there a plan in place, or do you guys support a plan on bringing school buses? When I went to school, we had school buses. Picked us up, dropped us off. Do you guys support bringing back school buses? It's just embarrassing, and every other city around us has buses.
Sam, did they say the reason why they had gotten rid of the school busing?
At the time, it was $750,000 a year. It was a budget issue. So I know we don't have a budget issue. We're hiring 100 people last year, almost 100 people this year. It doesn't seem like a budget issue anymore.
Well, I know.
We're spending a lot of
one
money.
Of the things when my sons were in the school was that there was a savage inequality of how students were placed in schools, right? And so that was when they had a large number of students who were being bused all over Mount Vernon. So then when they sat back and sat at the table, I don't know who the superintendent was at that time, but they sat back at the table because there were certain schools, one in particular, Graham Elementary School, were busing in a plethora of students. Understand? So that kept the busing up to par. But then when those students were deemed to go back to their school within their neighborhood,
Tiffany made it.
Right?
Right.
When they were deemed to go back to their schools in their neighborhood, then that eliminated some of the constant busing, right? Now, and then also when you have busing, Wright Hill is supposed to be, according to the state, there's a certain amount of miles for a student to get busing service, and especially if they're special ed, right?
I didn't put that in there.
Be over a mile and a half.
All right. And what about special ed? It doesn't matter.
Special ed, it doesn't matter because we have kids that live 1 block away and they get bused.
Right. Would you like to?
Yeah, it's something to look into. There's a lot that I am not accurate on, as far as information. However, we do support, the students. They're the customers. So they're the ones that we have to take care of. And, there's a bunch of issues that we have to look at. And, when it's all lined up, I do think transportation is huge. because of our, our community, which is, at times it's unsafe, and, as a coach of Shamoya McKenzie, which is kind of a separate incident because it was a Saturday, kind of driving through the community, a beautiful Saturday afternoon. However, they could have went so many different ways. So I do support transporting our children safely. However, it's a lot to look into to make sure the priorities are lined up correctly.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you, my brother, for your call. We have another caller. If you have a question for the candidate, please ask it now. Hello?
Yeah, this is hello?
Yes. It's People Before Politics.
Okay,
So you have
Brother Jeff.
Oh, Brother Jeff, how you doing there?
Oh, Brother Jeff. I was just thinking about you, bro.
Well, I'll try to be brief. I respect your airtime. I just got cut off, that's why I wasn't sure if I was on. So I do have a question. I want you to hear me out on the purpose, though. It's a question for candidate Williams. Sure. And it's not a direct personal challenge, but it's one mostly based in kind of theory, and I know from a lot of conversation with people who I trust to understand the interests of our community that he's a brother who's proven that he has a track record of actual service to the community. So I respect that. But I haven't had a chance to dialogue with him. So I want to ask him a question in the context of what y'all who've been on the radio know before that I push as an essential part of education for our community, and that happens to be the Afrocentric curriculum issue. Now, I have spoken to this issue in the past to this current sitting board, and I even quoted the 2011 study by the National Education Association, which itself comes out conclusively in the affirmative that what they call, in fact, their study, and I'll say this briefly, I don't want to read out the whole thing, but the study was on the academic and social value of ethnic studies. All right? That's not Afrocentric curricula, but the point is that there's hard data talking about the efficacy of teaching black and brown children in a way that specifically deals with their realities. So I've spoken to, and myself and other people over the years have spoken to this board, and it has been at least apathetic, and if not oppositional, to actually dealing with this issue. I know because I've been in a couple meetings with them talking about this, and there's some fairly vocally supportive candidates. Supportive trustees, and even in the executive body of the school district, they're fairly supportive theoretically, but there's no hardcore reliance on this positive turn of education for our students. So knowing that this particular board is not quite friendly to that concept, and I know that because, our trustees are more, who I wish would stay, I hope he's still on the line, because he's spoken openly to feeling like the district needs to be run like a business. I happen to disagree with that because most of us who know anything about capitalism know that it monetizes everything and cares little about the actual human element of an economy. So outside of that, there's the reality of white supremacy in American sociology and education. So knowing that we're in Mount Vernon at 70 to 80% majority of the population, especially in the school district itself in terms of our children, there's no excuse for having to entertain white supremacist theories or excuses for running away from so-called multi-ethnicities in our education. Having said that, I'm wondering what candidate Williams thinks about Afrocentric curricula and its actual effectiveness for our children in Mount Vernon. I'm not talking about what excuses. It's not an exclusive system. It does not hate white people. I don't need to actually debate that. I wish we'd stop running away from Afrocentric curricula on that fear. But I think I think that's part of the issue that I think our sister Turnquest is speaking to, because our children are not being educated to their actual needs, number one, and they're being educated to 20th century standards of white supremacy for education that does not prepare them for the world majority of people who are not white, who have needs that actually speak to knowing themselves. And our children do not know ourselves, and that's part of the education, the door to education for us.
Sure. I think it's a really good topic in our community, mainly that this is a majority African-American community. So I definitely support ethnic studies and cultural programs, so the students can first value themselves. We don't, we take for granted that, a lot of our history is passed down at home. However, you have to take into account of the culture. So when you have a culture that's obviously you have very little, as far as, school activities, you have very little parent involvement. So these stories and these, firsthand accounts may not be passed down at home. So, I know what it has done for me. Culturally, you have to, that's pretty much your foundation. However, that's one part of it. The academic, the cultural studies. We also have a community outside of, the district, so learning doesn't stop at 3 o'clock as far as I'm concerned. So we have a tremendous amount of work to do all across the board, and specifically after 3 o'clock. So here's where the community has to, really come together. And yes, ethnic studies is a priority in my eyes. However, community involvement is also a tremendous priority, which is something that we don't have. We have, over the years, we're down to about 5 to maybe about 8% on the last school board trustees election. 8% of the our registered voters came out. So we have very little involvement, and that's a clear disconnect, with the city from the community. And obviously there's a disconnect, with the certain studies and certain implementations of programs and policies and curriculums that need to be looked at, which is why this process is healthy, because you have to have people, a diverse amount of people, to come in and give it a look with a different angle. We have to be innovative, and we have to really keep up with technology that's moving really, really fast.
Mm-hmm. I added on to the feed for the brother who's online right now. I taught African American literature for many years at Young Scholars Academy in the Bronx, and I taught from this Grace Abounding core knowledge book. It was really, really awesome. If you like one, I took a couple from the school. I got it at the house. So you can come to the house and I give you one. It's a beautiful book. It's very thick. It's a textbook, African American literature, from from poetry to paintings,
yes,
and what we didn't know was by us teaching this in the middle school class, when those students got to high school and the high school looked at their transcript, it was credited towards a class in high school.
That's beautiful.
It's very important. Our history is so rich and deep, and it goes, our history doesn't start with slavery. So there's so much information to gain. Learning never stops. So this is also, it's good for the students, and then it's good for the culture overall, so we can understand a little bit better about each other.
I want to add something. Yeah, because I don't think that Brother Jeff's point can be overlooked, and quite honestly, I'm not satisfied with the discussion of the topic. I do know, for one, Brother Israel, and here I'm going to refer to you by your last name. I think that was quite deliberate on the part of Leslie. So we've known one another for a long time, Brother Israel, and I do know that you are a product of Bereshith Cultural Institute in the city of Mount Vernon, and its mission was specifically to provide some sort of educational experience whereby African American children of color, could have an affirmative sense of their identity. And there's a long list, there's a very long line of scholarship that places public schools at the very center of a system of reproduction of class inequalities that works by diminishing people's esteem about their cultural values and background from an early age forward. Mm-hmm. If we just think about history, for example, which is one of the central subjects that children are being introduced to from an early age forward, it makes it very difficult for a black child or a Latino child or any child who comes from a marginalized group to develop a positive and healthy attitude towards subject matter like history, when number one, your history is eliminated, and number two, we know that it's a mythologized and very dishonest version of history, whereby it makes it very difficult for young people to identify symbolically with the course matter that's being taught in our subject. So everyone wants to ignore history. If people can't see their place in history and come to an appreciation of the real active role that groups besides whites have played, and white people are important to American history, then I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get people more excited about learning, no matter what takes place after 3. And I know that's a tough call. It can't be changed overnight.
Right. And what we have to look at is, this isn't something that strictly relies on the school board. This passed down, this information that has to be passed down. I mean, what are our jobs as parents?
Well, Cynthia always says she knows because her father taught her.
Yeah.
Right.
But then to add on to that, like as individuals and leaders in the school.
Yes.
Right. Like one of the things that Hill is always saying to me, she is like, yo, the list of books that you order for the students, they're not like the books that all other administrators order for students.
Right.
Understand? Because I know that as growing up, going to an all-white school, because I went to an all-white school. Growing up going to an all-white school and then coming home to Mr. Victor Turnquest with him letting me know something different. Understand? The books play a major role, especially when they are sitting down and they're looking at and being taught something that they just don't connect to at all. Right. When you go, I'm a part of the New York Historical Society, and I went to all these classes, and I said, okay, so now, where's the books at for our boys? Right? Where's the books at for our girls? So that they will be able to become a part of the program that you're talking about, book in hand. What kind of books do they have in their hand?
That interest them.
That makes a major, major difference.
Sure.
Yep.
And
are we catering to individuals who are making sure that those type of books in hands are catering to the students who are in our district, not just limiting them to books that are about them, but broadening their mind and having them understand that we are kings, we are queens. Understand what I'm saying? And they're not seeing that.
Can I ask you a question? So, taking what y'all were saying,
could I follow up on that?
Yeah, let me ask you one quick question, real quick. So, would that go to say not only the teaching of this being important to us, the not teaching of it continues the racism in this country because the other people are not learning it either. You understand what I'm saying? So that would be safe to say that, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
very,
it would.
very safe to say that.
Go ahead, Brother Jeff.
You're absolutely right on that. In fact, I want to affirm your point, AJ, to that. And thank you, Cynthia, for that offer on the material. I'll take you up on that later. The fact of the matter is, I think in Mount Vernon, we have a particular challenge because we don't, if we were in the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, we'd have the same discussion all day because we understand that the rest of the city that is mostly dominated by people of non-color, Europeans, and basically race to be white supremacists, you have to fight them every day to have some kind of justification for your place in their economy and education. But in Mount Vernon, you shouldn't ever have to hear any excuses from another brown person why you can't have a curriculum. And yet, here we are in a community with the numbers that we have as a supermajority. And here's the challenge I know candidate Williams is going to have should he succeed, and I hope he does. And I've sat in meetings, at least one meeting in this school district, where, and quite frankly, they're quite open to the conversation. Okay, so this is not, some expose or hammer to slam the district. I think they're doing some things well, obviously, but I don't think to brag about increasing graduation rates is anything to talk about when your children are miseducated. And when it comes down to it, you can't brag about educating black and brown children if you're not teaching them their role in the world, and if you're miseducating them. I think Leslie Demore spoke to a popular refrain. I don't know that he necessarily exemplifies this, but a lot of people like to talk about parents and what they're not doing. And obviously, culture begins in the home. That's obviously that's a given. But if I teach my daughter, all right, who's 10, and she's going to a culturally themed school, what she needs to know about the truth in the world, not just her place in the world, but the world around her, and she goes to school to be miseducated, I'm going to have to go to the school to fight every day.
That's right.
I shouldn't have to fight the educators who are supposed to be educating my child and my neighbor's children and all the children around me.
That's
so
right.
if I'm in Mount Vernon, and if I'm in Mount Vernon, and my daughter does not go to a public school, I'm not going to get on any, trick bag argument about why my children aren't in the schools, because you're miseducating black children. And I'm out here making sure that I'm not going to put my daughter on an altar for sacrifice, and I'm going to fight for my neighbor's children too. And in the meantime, when I go to a school district meeting talking about what they are doing about black children, and one particular administrator bragged about how they're talking about Egypt, and they're using comparative analysis about the slaves in Egypt to compare them to African slaves in America, which is an abject lie. That's an archaeological, sociological, and historical lie. In fact, I actually used a news item to refute that, and brought it up to their one of their administrators like 2 or 3 days later. Now, it's not that I need to get into archaeological arguments with teachers about particular content, but the fact of the matter is our children are being miseducated even when the district is trying hard. Okay? That's a problem. So you have to get in there, not just as a trustee, but certainly you have to get the superintendent to care more about it. You got to get him to get his principals to care more about it. You got to get principals to get teachers to care about it. And yeah, we got work to do with our parents. That's a given. This country's been killing the minds and spirits of black and brown people for 300 years. Of course, you're going to get a generation of people who don't care about their culture, and their children reflect it.
Absolutely.
But having to undo it now is to respond accordingly. In a place like Mount Vernon, it should be inexcusable to have candidates, black or white, talking about educating a population of nearly 90% of children, educating them in the old 20th century standards of white supremacy. It inferiorizes black and brown children, and it pathologizes the thinking of white children. Absolutely. So we need to talk about that and make it happen. So
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And real quick, and I just saw this now, Cynthia, the answer to your question about why was the bus stop, Brenda said it was not a budget issue. The residents voted to not have buses.
And just to add on to that, Brenda, I remember in particular Graham Elementary School that there were individuals in that area in particular that counted the amount of buses that came down that block. And that what it showed was it was a savage inequality, and I constantly use that word. That's a title of a book by Jonathan
Kozol.
That's right. So, so Jonathan Kozol talked about the savage inequalities, and one of the savage inequalities in Mount Vernon was the way that children was distributed in certain schools. So you had certain schools where students were on point and on top, and their percentage looked a certain way, and students in another school where the percentage didn't look that way. Those schools from other students from all over Mount Vernon were bussed into certain schools, and that's why their percentages look that way. So you're okay. All right, we good on the bus part. You got that, Sam?
Yeah. So he's going, but and real quick, couple of people in the check-in. Shout out to Nas Duncan, Miguel Magnifico. I hope I pronounced that right. And there was one other person who had and our homeboy Michael Hannon. We're coming in about 20 minutes of the show. I just want to make sure that first off, is there anything I didn't ask you specifically about?
So I'm getting ready. I got to get ready to roll out.
Okay,
but I just want to tell you that I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I have a bag of books for you to bring into the barbershop for the boys.
Yes.
I just want to thank everybody one more time who brought out brand new books when I had that Let Girls Learn Day, and then I had individuals still bringing me books after. Absolutely. Right, and so they said, well, you need to do something for the boys. I said, well, then bring me the book for the boys. I had like 5 boxes of books for the boys. So I gave some books to Ritter, and he took some books to he said I gave him a good idea, and he took some books over to the children's hospital. Because my son does a lot of community service, and he went to the children's hospital.
Get with Damon about some of the kids in the shelter, because he's working with the kids in the shelter.
All right, cool. I get some for Damon. But I got a bag of books. Nice. I bring it to the barbershop for you. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I'm currently reading. You want to hear the book I'm reading?
What are you reading?
It's called, the title of it, In Schools We Trust. And so, In Schools We Trust, I could not get past the second chapter yet because I keep going back. And today, at dinner with my son and I talked to him about whether or not he trusts the school that he's in. Wow. The conversation that we had was very, very deep. In Schools We Trust by Deborah Meyer, M-E-I-R, but, you know. So I know how it is to be stuck on the two chapters.
Yeah.
I keep going back,
right,
analyzing
right.
it,
Yeah,
looking up words, you know, and things of that nature.
Real quick, before you leave, Sam Rivers
up?
said, yes, I'm still here, but busing was initially a budget issue. I will look more into it tomorrow. And John R. Jones, former Mount Vernon Police Department, Johnny, he said, my man, Yacht, I got you, Yacht. Yeah, so.
Thanks,
all right,
Johnny.
y'all, so I appreciate
Thank you for
what you're
coming
doing.
through.
Getting
It was
ready
good
to
to
head
meet you.
out. And I got
Any
some
last
books
words
for
for
you.
you?
Well, we
You didn't
have
speak much.
I'm sorry.
What you got?
I'm fine. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay.
You leaving us too?
Yes.
We have a book drive. Book in Hand is putting together a citywide book drive over the next week or so. So we'll be taking, books, particularly K through 12.
You want brand new books?
No. These are brand new. We're taking used books. We're taking brand new books. And
Well,
right now, our drop-off site, you can drop it off at Famous Barbershop.
Okay.
Or at 17 Fisk Place, Fisk, F-I-S-K-E Place. Someone is always there to take that, and we'll sort it. And we just want to have
I'll bring it to
them
the barbershop.
categorized
I'm bringing it to the barbershop.
for the youth that need it.
I just want to tell y'all before I leave. You know, I had a flood in my house years ago, and my books were damaged. I wasn't mad about the hardwood floors, but I care less about that. I said, yo, my books. I didn't know that my father had an insurance policy about the books. I was shocked. I was shocked.
That's what's up.
He said, you got to write down every single book and the price because I have specifically, that's how much I read. I read on that level. And I was, great way to travel.
And as for insurance, whatever you have a lot of, you have to do, because my mother had a lot of jewelry, so they will only give you a certain amount for the jewelry. She had to have an extra rider or something for the amount of jewelry she had.
He had an extra rider in regards to the books that I had.
Wow.
With that said, I'm out of here.
Sam,
I'll bring some books to you.
Yes,
thank you. A book called Building Civic Capacity.
No, I haven't heard of Building. Who's it by?
Who's it by, Sam? I don't know. Sam just... All right.
So Sam, text me the book title and stuff.
Thank you for coming through.
See you later, babe. Love
Thank you.
Do.
Okay.
Are you gonna see me? I'm gonna be at the bookstore. I got some books for you too.
Sounds great.
I got some books for that.
I told you. Now I told you when I introduced y'all at the library. When I introduced y'all at the library, that y'all was gonna love each other.
That's right.
Yeah.
See you later, babe.
All right. So that's Cynthia Turnquest Jones. She came in as she always do, and she's out holding it down, and she's working on several things. You can always see her, and don't forget again to go to the book reading event with Sean Bell's mom. Was it mom or was it her? This was the mother. Valerie Bell's the mother. Okay.
I believe so.
Yes. Sean Bell at Cupcake Cuties May 6th. I'm sure we'll have a flyer. I'm sure we have a flyer on Black Westchester before the week's out. So just check Black Westchester. And again, I'm going back to you. So we got about 10 minutes. What else do you? What are your concerns about the school? What would you like to see? What would you like to see change? I know one person can't go in because
and why?
Yeah, because people always say, I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna change this. Sometimes it's one person can't change everything.
Right.
So I'm asking a different question.
Right.
What would you? Like to see change?
Right. Well, that's a pretty.
Clarence Stone is the author of that book. Go ahead.
It's a really big topic. What I would like to see is actually, the characteristics put into our community. You need certain characteristics in place in order to, achieve high performance. Right. So I have my youngest is, in kindergarten. So, potentially he'll be in the district for another 12 years. And, the fear is that, because listen, you can do everything right. And like I said, at 3 o'clock, learning doesn't stop. And now you have to come back over to the community. So the community and the district go hand in hand. So you can't really mention, for as far as I'm concerned, you can't mention one without the other. So community involvement is, to me, in my opinion, the number one essential piece that needs to be added to the district initially. And how do you do that? I mean, it starts with a conversation. There's so many different, so many different challenging ways to actually get that done. However, when you have a very low community involvement, which to me supersedes the parents, you have the parents and the families. Yes, that's one thing. So parental involvement, and what they call Mount Vernon high poverty district, you'll have low participation. However, the community supersedes that. So if you don't have parent engagement, that doesn't mean you can't have community engagement, because the community goes a little bit further than the parents in the district. So, we want to get community engagement. We want to get that up, at a much greater rate. We need to collaborate a lot more. So these are kind of, general answers. We want to collaborate. We need to communicate, obviously, a lot more. And we have to actually find a team that can actually take all of these questions and concerns and can filter them correctly. So you have to have the passion, and, you have to be able to listen. I mean, that's one of the criteria as far as being effective. You can have a board that's, has the same vision, but getting there is a whole nother job. So having a vision and 2020 vision is really good, that, the vision that we have. However, to me, the citizens of the community represent the bridge to where we are in the vision and to where we want to be. So getting 8% of the community to come out for a school board election is a tremendous problem, because for me that represents 8%. I mean, you look at the Tappan Zee Bridge. We want to get from one side to the next. Now, if you have that vision, you have the team, you have everything, you have all the equipment lined up. But if you actually get 8% of the bridge built, then you're nowhere near your goals. So for me, the community represents the bridge, and actually in order to get to where we want. And all the concerns today are very valid concerns, and they have to be considered at a high level.
Now, another question from the audience. When you were in high school, there were vocational classes. What are your thoughts on its return, and what would you do to expand the programs?
I'm extremely happy about the vocational classes returning. The STEAM School of Excellence, I'm excited about. STEM, right? STEM or STEAM, I'm not sure. That's very exciting. The Performing Arts School that's coming, is pretty exciting as well. And then we're going K through 8, which is a whole nother dynamic, and we have to actually do that effectively and correctly. So the vocational, when I was in school, I mean, I had a lot of friends. I was always in the gym. That was my extracurricular. So that program, the vocational program, it allowed a lot of people, a lot of students to actually grab their niche early and really start to put together their livelihood. I know a lot of people now who are electricians and plumbers and, went through that auto body experience and auto mechanics, some great programs that we've had. And then I know, 20 years later, some people have made a really good living off of it. So I strongly, encourage that. And I'm very proud that that's coming back, because I think it's a true value to our city.
No doubt. Oh yeah, we did have. I know there was supposed to be somebody else. So, council person Andre Rainey from Peekskill was supposed to come through tonight. He was running late, and he wouldn't be able. He actually wouldn't make it from Peekskill now before the show was over. So we're gonna reschedule him, and he's gonna let us know what's going on in Peekskill.
Sure.
So shout out to Andre Noodle Rainey, councilman in Peekskill, holds us down. Been on the show several times before.
Yep.
Okay, so anything I haven't asked you.
Well,
if people want to know more about you, how can they reach out and look up material on you?
Well, you can. I'm not really a social media guy, but you can find me on Instagram at bookinhand.co.company.co. CO, book INHAND, book in hand. You can also find me at Mount Vernon Beauty over on Instagram, which is a page designed and organization set up of community volunteers in Mount Vernon that has the same vision of preserving our great city and also celebrating. So we, even going to our cultural depth. I mean, we have a long list of success stories that have come through Mount Vernon that, a lot of people wouldn't even know. And, we have a lot of, influential people that still are residents of the city. So, that's also something that I would like to see put in district-wide, a little bit more so we can actually celebrate our history, from the previous past, not going back so far. But, I mean, listen, like I said, our history is extensive.
Actually.
But we have to go back and we have to actually celebrate our role models that are still here as well. So, we want to do that. And then also, respect is a very strong word. And I took a coaching course, a DASA coaching course, DASA, DASA, Dignity for All Students Association, DASA, and it was a 2-day course, probably about 4 hours. And going into it, it's a coaching course, so you kind of brush up on a few things. And going into it, I thought I knew what respect was. I mean, just literally, I didn't think I could learn anything more on what respect is and what it means. And after completing that course, I said to myself, I wish that each and every one of my students and the entire district could take a class on dignity, for all students. So dignity and respect. So it comes down to so many things, to, so many conversations, so many visuals about what that actually means. And with the world kind of turning really fast, that's really important in our diverse culture, so we can actually, get some of the different levels of violence and just miscommunication, down, because the levels of respect have to go up. And that's something I want to push for, is through K through 12, having some type of experience with a curriculum on respect.
So you see the primary beneficiaries of that curriculum to be the students?
Yeah, and the community. The broader community. We have to really take a look at our students, our high school postgraduate students. We have to keep keep a relationship with students who graduate, and for a few years they're kind of in limbo, trying to figure out how to get over that hump, whatever it be. So as a school board, as a district, it's pretty important to have these relationships, and it really goes back to goal setting. So if we have a relationship with a student or with a group of students, and we all have their goals lined up as to where they want to be, sometimes we lose sight of it, and sometimes we just have to kind of go back through it again. So goal setting, and then monitoring, of course, and giving them the tools that they need to actually get to the next level, because the reality is they're going to have to feed a family more than likely one day, or even feed themselves. And it hits hard as soon as you put that you take the graduation cap off. Now you're in the real world, and you get less support, you get less help from the broader community. But now it's actually time for you to fend for yourself and go out and hunt for the food that you want to eat. So we need supportive systems like that in place, because our community calls for it. So we have to do analysis of what the community calls for, and we have to kind of look at trying to get those things in, and it has an effect on school and the broader community. Absolutely.
Dr. Bob, wrap up.
One of the last things
Thank you for saving me.
What I wanted
Brother Williams.
What we didn't really touch on is, our tax-paying citizens, and the citizens who are, just overtaxed and underserved. So a lot of conversations that I have, kind of going through the community, I'm stopped a lot by parents who are really frustrated with the fact that, listen, they pay more taxes than mortgage, and they have to send their children to private schools in order to, achieve this quality of life. And they're a little frustrated. And that's something that we want to close, the achievement gap. We want to come down. We want to have real solutions so we can retain our families with high standards. So, I don't necessarily believe that all of our brighter students, I use the term like A students, but I'm really referring to like the families with the highest standards of education, and will not compromise it. So we need to also have an open dialogue with these parents so we can kind of close that gap and fill the holes as to what needs to be done to make sure that we provide a comfortable place for for them and the students to actually be a productive citizen.
Right. Brother Zamore suggested in his earlier remarks that the fundamental fault for much of the problems in low school performance lies with families. And while I think everyone has responsibility to bear, I know that one of the criticisms that has been frequently raised about educational policy here in the United States is the mismatch between the daily work schedule of parents and the schedule of our schools. The 2 or 3 hour gap, Brother Williams, you probably know, is often known as prime time for crime and other kinds of troubles that frequently plague teens, especially. And I want to know if what are your feelings about possibly extending the school's operating hours beyond 3 o'clock so that those working parents who are unable to help their kids out with their homework maybe can have some dedicated staff or maybe some constructive outlets so that they don't get in any trouble afterwards. Well, and I know it's expensive.
Yeah, and the district, they're moving in that direction. They have, they have extended school days currently, where they give the students opportunities to stay a little later and complete the homework and, actually, get a little bit more comfortable with the curriculum. Mr. Zamore, he's one of the, one of the pivotal people involved in this, what we call a renaissance. Mm-hmm. He's a great asset to the community because he's an independent thinker. Mm-hmm. Mount Vernon is a great place with a great history, geographically, second to none. So what happens is a lot of times we go and we become complacent with a lot of activities, and then we need someone to actually challenge it, so I really stand behind him, and we all have our different opinions. So obviously, yes, the family, it plays the pivotal role in learning, because I tell my daughter and son all the time, I'm correcting homework with my daughter, and I said, well, listen, no, we're going to do it this way. She says, well, Dad, my teacher, actually, showed me this way. And I said, okay, that's fine, because that's the way we're going to have to learn it. But I have to remind them sometimes, I'm the first teacher. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm the teacher. So it has to be, that has to be passed down. And now, looking at our culture, right, you have, what, quote unquote, high poverty cultures. In cultures like this all across the country, you'll have lower parental engagement, right? It's a fact. Mm-hmm. However, that's not anything to point fingers at, because it's just my opinion, because the community has a bigger responsibility in that process. If you can't get the initial parents in, then the community as a whole forms groups, forms neighborhood organizations that actually can pull in mentors and tutors and can kind of troubleshoot a lot of issues, and all that takes place after 3 o'clock. So yes, and that's I agree that family and community is the number one barrier, in my opinion, to actually increasing performance in our particular culture. And I do support, actually supporting our families without pointing fingers. Let's just find real solutions that can actually engage them. And
let me and this has to be a brief answer too.
Results, yeah.
It has to be a brief answer, and
Sure.
you may have already covered some of it.
Yep.
I was dating a girl in Harlem some years back when I had the little clothing company, Conscious Brothers, out there. Shout out to Brian Marable and the Conscious Brother family. But she would be busy. I would be the one that would end up going to the school, and And when the school called in, because her mother was working overtime or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was 5 blocks, 10 blocks away. So anyway, as I went in there, they had some of the best teachers go into the worst schools and tried to work with them. And one of the meetings with the school, this guy was going to take it upon himself to have Saturdays to teach the parents.
Yeah.
Because the parents may have not gotten great educations, one, or the things are so far from what they learned,
right,
they can't even help their kids.
Yeah.
I would assume that some of that may take place in Mount Vernon too.
Yeah, we have Parent University.
Okay.
Now, which is on Saturday mornings, which is great, and it engages parents and it shows them, how to kind of handle the different workloads. And we still have to up the enrollment in that because, even parents have different learning styles. Mm-hmm. So you have to do an analysis and try to figure out, different approaches to learning, and we have to, have that similar approach to parents.
Okay, cool.
Definitely.
Coming to the close of the show, I want to thank everybody who came through. I want everybody who called in, all the comments, all the listeners. As always, thank you for the continual support.
And lastly, I want to thank everyone. And I know it may have been a little confusing because you've heard a few names up here. In my community, I'm known as Yak. Coach Yak. That's just that's what I'm known as. Yaakov was my birth name, and a few years ago, I had actually went through a name change in Israel. So they're synonymous. Yaakov is a Hebrew name for Jacob. Israel, so that's it's actually. So it's all the same. So you'll hear that mixed, but it is no different, all the same. And I want to thank you guys for having me here. And I just want to close and say that, my running mates are, and like you heard from Leslie Zamore, they're very qualified, and we're a diverse city. So we have to look at diverse options. So we really, really want to push, for the right team, the right makeup to make as few mistakes as possible. And I strongly believe that that's our group. So we want you guys to get out, and like I said, and I'll make it really quick, it doesn't matter. We can go ahead and get in Mount Vernon, we can go get the best school board candidates in the world. We can go get the very best 3 in the world and bring them to Mount Vernon, but if we have only 8% of the city involved in that process, we'll get very little done. So it really relies on the people to actually get out and be a voice, and not just get out, stay out. We have to come back outside. We have to actually get the litter up. We got to do it. It's a tremendous amount of work to do, but I guarantee that we're the team to do it. And on May 16th, I'd like you guys to come out Tuesday, May 16th, and vote for myself, Israel Williams, Stanley Russo, and Arlene Torres, so we can actually get great schools and work at lowering taxes. And we want to build the value of our city, our great city.
No doubt. And I'm glad I have to say this because I said it on the last show. And it would be in my position as People Before Politics as the editor-in-chief of Black Westchester. I know that the slates are running in teams, but you, the viewer, you, the voter, have the opportunity to vote the best 3 candidates. They might not necessarily be all on the same team. Too long, we as black people, we do the Democrat thing. Vote A all the way. That may not always be the right way. You know what I'm saying?
In this case it is.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm not saying that this isn't, but I had to say that since I said that on the last, on the last show. So it's the viewer, it's the voter for you to find out all you can, and we hope we contributed to that process so that you can pick the best 3 candidates, whether they are on the same slate or not. And that, that's just me, doing my part to explain that. So everybody should come out, and I will remind you again, to the school board election. The school board gets, and I'm hearing between 66 and 75 cents on the dollar of your taxes. And you come to, and, people are starting to come out to city council meetings more and care about what's going on in the city government. This gets a lot more of your tax dollars. You should care as much or even more on what's going on in your schools, and you need to participate. This is a participatory sport. This is not just, you vote and you hand it over to people. You have, they have school board meetings. Every 2 weeks, they have PTA meetings. They have various other organizations and parts that you can be involved to make your school the school system better, or, at least hold the feet to the fire of those who are in place. So you, the voter, you need to come out in numbers like never before. The school is in a transitionary period. Most adults, when they go through school neighborhoods to see if they want to move, they check out the school district first.
Right.
So if the school district is not good, chances are that might not be one of the top places you move to. So, it's very important, and, taxes and all that. So get involved in any way that you can. As always, you could be doing anything else, but you decided to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This is Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics radio show every Sunday, 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Until next week, and again, next week we will have some socially conscious spoken word artists putting it down, something a little new for us, entertain you with the message. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And an activist from Yonkers, Lorraine Lopez. So until next week, peace.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.